I'm Christina, a recovering people pleaser turned assertiveness expert. I was tired of taking the back seat to what other people wanted, and I finally cracked the code to go from hesitant and timid to self-assured and confident. I became a women's empowerment coach so that I could help other women like me find their words, feel heard, and step into their power. If you struggle to speak up in tricky situations and you're looking to change the way your conversations go, you're in the right place. In the last episode, I talked about how important our thoughts are and how they frame the world we know. So I want to take that out of our minds and into the real world. We can think a bunch of different things, but what we say out loud is just that much more powerful. A lot of people know about positive affirmations. And in the last episode, I talked about there's also negative affirmations. One of the things I used to say to myself, if something unfortunate or bad happened in the beginning of the day, I would say, well, this isn't going to be a good day, or this is shaping up to be a bad day. That's a negative affirmation. And now I'm very conscientious about if I say, today's going to be a good day, or, well, that just ruined my entire day. They're different, and I'm giving them power. No matter which one I say, that's the one I'm giving power to. So I want to share with you a personal story and how I really came to be in tune with this idea. Because it was something, negative affirmations was something that I used to do. And it really wasn't until a certain event and after a few years of practice. And just knowing what I know now and having rewired as I have, affirmations are such a powerful place to start with. In my case, I had an eye-opening moment in 2019. I sell skincare and cosmetics with a company that's based in Texas. I still do, but I don't do it as much now. And so in the summer of 2019, I traveled to Dallas where I attended their seminar. And this year in particular, 2019, I had achieved some pretty lofty goals. I was flying high with the best of our national area. So to put it in perspective, I was a consultant and the people around me were sales directors, and sales directors had 24 to 30 consultants who worked under them. And I was a consultant. This is really cool in a few ways, but it meant that people were starting to pay attention to me. I had been able, and I got used to flying under the radar and kind of just doing my own thing. But, I was used to sitting at the kids' table kind of thing. And these were sales directors and achievers. They were at the adults' table. That's how it felt like to me. So I was able to enjoy many conversations with my new friends. And I knew these women, of course, but usually what it looked like was they were leading the meetings and I was sitting in the audience learning from them. But on that day, at that event, we were peers. They weren't sales directors. I wasn't a consultant. We were achievers. I was one of them. So, but not to get too sidetracked and reminisce, as I was having conversations with these women, I started noticing that there was a bit of a recurring theme. And I remember saying things like, I don't like working with big groups of people. Or, I've never done that before. And even one of my favorites at the time was, I tend to struggle with. And at the time, my intention was to show these women that I was still new in the business. I had achieved something great, but I was still a baby consultant. And now, sidetracking for a second, I wonder why I had that need to tell them that. They knew I was a consultant. They knew that I hadn't been in the business as long as they had. But I wanted to make sure, like, okay, I'm here with you, but I'm back over here too. I'll have to examine that one of these days. Anyway, so I would keep talking to these now peers of mine, and they would listen to me, and a lot of them stopped me. And they said, you need to watch your words. These were different women, different conversations, and yet they almost all of them said the exact same thing. You need to watch your words. So that was in the summer of 2019, and it wasn't until maybe 2022 that I finally understood what they were saying. If you say it, you're giving it power. So, let's take one of the things I used to say as an example. It was true that working with large groups of people wasn't my favorite way to work with customers. But why couldn't I say something like, I'm still learning and experimenting with new ways to work with large groups of people? Because that was true. I mean, if I was such a baby consultant, there were ways I hadn't tried yet. And what if one of those ways was a better fit for me? But instead, I just kept saying, I don't like working with big groups of people. So for me, this was a cornerstone experience when it came to learning about how to step into my power. Like I said, that was 2019, and it wasn't until 2022 that I really got what they were saying and really felt like I mastered it. But the choice point was when I noticed what was going on. My attention was brought to, you need to watch your words. So now I want to ask you, what is something that you say pretty consistently out loud that is an affirmation? My boss doesn't like me anyway. This kid will do what he wants to do anyway. And is that something that you continually say and you continually affirm that that's your truth? And what I've learned is it is so tricky to burst through that level, those layers that we've put on top of ourselves. And you could say, okay, Christina, you know deep down that you don't hate working with large groups of people. You're just frustrated in the moment. Yes, but every time you say it, you're just adding another layer on top of yourself, right? I also, in doing all of this work and being mindful of what I was saying, I also was able to become honest with myself. There were some things that I had been saying or I wanted to say that I had to let go of because I found that they just weren't true or I was uncomfortable with saying. So, as an example, I used to say all the time, I want to be a sales director. And then it turned into, I am working every day on becoming a sales director, trying to affirm that. But then one day, I think just because I was noticing what I was saying, I decided to really become aware of what it meant. And I knew logistically, like the company outlines very clearly what we need to do to become a sales director. But I talked to some women who had done it and what it looked like for them. And as I was hearing their stories and the things they did and the time they invested, I thought, I don't know if I really want to become a sales director. Maybe I was chasing something that I thought I knew about and I was told to want it, but now that I have my own understanding of it, backwards and forwards, positive and negative, is it something that I want to own as my truth? So that's exactly what happened. And I stopped saying I want to become a sales director. I started saying I am working on achieving this goal. I am working on selling so much per month. I'm in the process of selling, whatever the affirmations turned into. But when I became completely clear, positive and negative, backwards and forwards, what it was that I was saying and really owned it, I could see phrases that I could drop or phrases, all those different things. The same is true with, I don't like working with big groups of people. Is it that I don't like working with big groups of people? Is it that, I'm fine with a certain amount, but not, different things. And I was finally able to say things like, I am practicing new ways to do X. So what I want to pass on to you right now is the biggest thing you can do for yourself is become aware of what you're saying. Oh, Brenda doesn't like me. Do you know that for a fact? Have you asked her? Or does she seem a little grumpy and you don't know why? And maybe it has nothing to do with you. All kinds of things, right? So when I'm looking at helping you find your words, feel heard, and step into your power, this is huge when it comes to stepping into your power. What is your truth? Whatever you give your energy towards and whatever you say out loud, that is your truth. So are you going to have a good day? Or are you already shaping up to not have a good day? And you get to pick with your words and make that your truth. All right, talk to you soon. Thanks for listening. If you're looking for a way to gain more confidence when you're confronted with tricky situations, download my free guide, 3 Simple Steps to Speak Up for Yourself, even when you just want to run and hide. Check out the link in the show notes to get your copy. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode of the Empowering Women's Words podcast. Talk to you soon.